Multiplayer FPS games are a staple of the gaming industry. There's always going to be more and more coming out right when you think you've had enough. But with all the FPS games to ever be released, have you ever wondered what the best maps are? Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. Welcome back to another massive top 20 FPS ranking. Today, we're going to be taking a trip down FPS history. And this is the hardest topic so far. I'm going to give you my picks for the 20 best FPS maps of all time. And yes, I know how heated this topic is going to get down in the comments because we're literally going to be going over decades worth of maps. But we're going to try to keep it civil and get it down to 20. And if you're really crazy, give me your list of the 20 best FPS maps. There's thousands of them. We'll compare and contrast everybody's opinions. We'll see if we can find any common ground. So hunker down, drop a like on the video, and at number 20, Hang 'em High in Halo Combat Evolved. Raise your hand if I have your attention. Hang 'em High is one of the most iconic FPS maps of all time. So if we're starting with this at number 20 on the list, you already know we're going to have some absolute bangers to go over for the rest of the video. But jokes aside, Hang 'em High is an amazing map for old school Halo gameplay, especially if you're in a heated match of Magnums. It's definitely a bit on the primitive side compared to later Halo maps, but that was simply a byproduct of the old school gameplay, not an actual criticism of the map itself. I think it's definitely one of the best FPS maps of all time, and I think it's a good way to kick off the list today. At number 19, Clubhouse in Rainbow Six Siege. Now, this map is set during an assault on a biker gang clubhouse in the middle of Germany, and it features a lot of awesome set pieces. There's a ton of Easter eggs, which are always a plus for me. Aside from the visuals, the layout is fantastic for both sides, offense and defense. It does test how well you know the mechanics of the game and all the tools of every character. Gun skill just isn't enough to carry you to victory on this map. There's a ton of interior and exterior positions that you have to be aware of, and there is a lot of characters' gadgets that work really well here, so you're constantly going to be evolving and being on your toes. At number 18, Rialto in Overwatch. Very, very large map with a ton of different power positions and a lot of angles that you have to keep an eye on. One team is trying to push a payload from one end of the map all the way to the other. The other team simply trying to stop them. But the layout, it was really good. The sightlines were intense and the checkpoints keep things interesting by making sure neither team is either too far away from the action when they spawn back in or not. It's a good map. Many Overwatch players would consider it to be one of the best, if not the best maps in the entire game. At number 17, Operation Metro Battlefield 3. This one is set in Paris, France. It's one of the most insane and fast-paced maps in Battlefield history, and it's largely known for the ridiculous matches of Conquest and Rush. Shotguns, SMGs, explosives, they're all your best friend here. You just bust your way through the underground metro system. The BF3 version was so popular that it was brought back virtually unchanged for Battlefield 4, other than some cosmetic tweaks, and I bet a ton of you Battlefield players have lots of great memories here, and I know, we're ready for a good Battlefield. At number 16, let's go back to Siege. Villa in Rainbow Six Siege. This one's set in Tuscany, Italy. Very, very cool. Has you fighting in a large Italian estate owned by the Mafia. It's a cool concept. Rainbow Six Siege has some really good map concepts. The map, it's designed well. Featured several different levels of tons of different rooms, little hallways for you to learn and cover. The Rainbow Six community sometimes feels like Villa is a bit overplayed, but at the end of the day, the map is good. It's one of the best examples of the dynamic gameplay loop that Siege provides and has hooked so many people into it. At number 15, The Bad Place in Quake. Raise your hand if you remember this one. I'm holding out hope for a Quake reboot, but at this point, it doesn't seem likely. But at any rate, The Bad Place is the fourth deathmatch map in the original Quake. Fan favorite for the power-ups, the insane weapons sprawled across the map, and the tight design that kept the pace high and ensured that only the most skilled player was going to be able to make it out on top. It was a very compact map, and it was reportedly designed in a single day by American McGee, which is crazy, who would later go on to design the underrated Alice games. There you go. The more you know. At number 14, Dust Bowl in Team Fortress 2. This is one of the most iconic maps from Team Fortress 2, largely because of all the Gmod videos that were made on it, but it's also just a phenomenal map on top of that as well. Attack and defend map, you're fighting through a desert facility. It's actually a remake of a map of the same name from the original Team Fortress game, which I'm guessing only a handful of you watching this video probably ever played. Progressing through the various sections of the map can get intense. You have to change up your playstyle. You have to adapt to your environment. It can be a little oppressive to newer players, but isn't that a good thing in a game like TF2? I think it is. Just get good at the game. At number 13, Caspian Border and Battlefield 3. This map really puts Battlefield's strengths on display by heavily relying on vehicles and quick traversal on these huge landscapes. One of the biggest maps ever put in a Battlefield game, and yet it still complements every class very, very well. Since there's so many vehicles lying around, you can use quickly to get from place to place, either staying out of harm's way, you can be a sniper, you get up in the enemy team's face, whatever. Caspian Border is awesome. It's definitely a top tier Battlefield map and a top 20 FPS map if you ask me. At number 12, Shipment in COD 4. The original 1v1 map in Call of Duty. Shipment in COD 4 was the smallest map in the game, and when it came up in rotation, you knew you were in for an absolutely insane match as everybody ran around with SMGs, shotguns, LMGs, spamming frag grenades at every opportunity to rack up dozens of kills. Later versions of Shipment were less fondly received due to the changes in the gameplay and the spawns, but the original COD 4, it's iconic. At number 11, Siege of Shanghai in Battlefield 4. Now, when BF4 first launched, this map was one of the buggiest out there. DICE patched it up, then it became a fan favorite. Siege has you fighting an explosive battle through the streets of that city, and there's a ton of buildings and environments that can be strategically or not strategically destroyed to shift the tide of the battle. Now, in terms of the sheer amount of stuff going on and the amount of destructibility, this is one of the most advanced maps that DICE has ever designed, but on top of that, it was a fantastic map all around. It provides some of the most intense and memorable moments in the Battlefield franchise. Now we arrive at the top 10. This is almost impossible to do. I'm going to go at number 10. I'm going to go Rust in Modern Warfare 2. Now, Shipment was the original 1v1 map in Call of Duty, but Rust was the map that perfected that formula. I mean, the verticality gives you extra options. You're running around the map, just looking at the pictures of the map brings back memories, intervention battles, crazy chopper gunner streaks, those modded lobbies where you could go get 20th prestige, tactical nuke countdowns. Rust was the best. At number 9, Facing Worlds in Unreal Tournament. Not only was this one of the coolest FPS maps ever made, if you ask me, it's also one of the most important. Facing Worlds was originally created as a stress test for the Unreal Engine, but it was quickly turned into a CTF map for Unreal Tournament where it became an iconic part of gaming history. The map is simple. The layout's simple. 2 identical towers and some bridges connecting them, so you have to go from one base to the other and back without getting blasted by an enemy player or accidentally falling off the bridge into the abyss. Quick movement and precise aiming are the only things that are going to keep you alive here. And there's a good reason why it returned in every later version of Unreal Tournament. Now, it's a shame the franchise has died out over the last decade because I think the modern FPS market could use something like this. If Doom can carve out a place for itself in the 2020s, why can't Unreal Tournament? At number 8, Nuketown and Black Ops. Now, you may be a bit burnt out on Nuketown if you're a Call of Duty player, and I totally get that, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't be so iconic if it wasn't such a solid map. Nuketown debuted in the original Black Ops. Great example of a fast-paced, straightforward map that's not so small that you can't get your bearings together before you actually get in the fray. There is so many power positions, solid cover pieces, flanking routes. You can take full advantage of it, and if you manage to make it through them without being spotted or blown up, you're there. Nuketown has showed up in every single Black Ops game, and it's coming in Black Ops 6. It deserves to be here. At number 7, Battle Creek in Halo Combat Evolved. Now, this one has always been one of my favorite Halo maps, and it's been remade several times with several different names, but I'm sure you guys recognize the layout on the screen. Battle Creek has you fighting in the middle of a giant canyon. 2 bases on opposite sides of a small creek, and towering over that creek are 2 Overwatch locations that you can use to shower the enemy team with bullets and grenades. There's also a couple power-up spawns hidden in the waterfalls that can shake up the battle, and things get really crazy if you can manage to make it into the enemy's team base and do some cheesy teleporter plays. I adore this map. I love it. At number 6, Terminal in Modern Warfare 2. If you're a regular viewer of this channel and my content, you know I've called Terminal the best map in COD history several times, and I'm standing by that today. May not be as iconic or recognizable as Nuketown or Rust, but if we're talking map design and game flow, I think it's as good as it gets. Russian Airport allowed you to play basically any way you wanted to, and you would be rewarded for it if you put in the time to learn the layout. Sniper stuck to the outskirts, SMGs and shotties rushed the middle lane, AR players would tag people from hallways, stealthy players did a little bit of everything. It was truly the perfect map with Call of Duty gameplay. Now we arrive at the top 5. Kings Row in Overwatch. The Overwatch community doesn't agree on a lot of things, but one thing that's basically unanimous, I think, is that Kings Row is peak Overwatch map design. This map has you progressing through the city streets. You're escorting your payload until you make it to the gates of the factory for the final stretch. As you move through the map, Different power positions and flanking routes open up. They force you to stay on your toes. You have to learn which heroes work best on certain areas. King's Row is practically flawless as a map. Despite all the changes that have been made to Overwatch over the last 8 years, this map remains at the top. At number 4, Blood Gulch and Halo Combat Evolved. Sometimes the best maps are the simplest ones. Blood Gulch debuted in the original Halo. Then it was brought back in almost every sequel under different names. You know the map. Huge sprawling map with a base on each side of it. The fun comes from hopping on a Warthog, driving all the way to the other side, claim the other team's home base before eventually getting killed. You spawn all the way back at the other end and you do it all over again. It's not always that simple because, there's stuff sprinkled along your journey. Power weapon spawns, power positions that a skilled player could use to pick off enemy players trying to drive to the other side, but it slaps. I don't know how Bungie made such a simple map so fun, but they did. At number 3, we're going to go 2 Fort and Team Fortress 2. This was the first official CTF map available for Team Fortress 2, and it is still one of the most beloved. In fact, it's one of the most beloved FPS maps ever made. 2 Fort is a very straightforward design. Tons of power positions, choke points. They can lead to some absolutely insane firefights, which is why people love it. You really have to be on the same page with your team in order to capture flags here, and you have to be super mobile and think on your toes. It's a work of FPS art. When you think of Team Fortress 2, there's a good chance you think of this map. At number 2, Lockout in Halo 2. The Bungie era Halo games had some incredible asymmetrical maps, and Lockout, to me, is the best of the best. Small maze, bunch of platforms, walkways lead you around the midsection where you only went if you wanted to fight the entire lobby at once, but there was also great high ground positions. There was some cheesy low ground flanking routes, the gravity lifts, you could use the snipers, all of it. Whole bunch of great angles for cross-map grenade tosses. I would honestly argue Lockout is the best map in Halo history. I think it's a fair spot. But if the best Halo map of all time is number 2, what is number 1? To me, the best FPS map ever made is Dust 2 in Counter-Strike. It's not only the most popular map in Counter-Strike, but it's also the best designed map in FPS history, and it's solidified its place in internet culture because of the ridiculous YouTube videos and Gmod animations that were made on it. Dust 2 is a relatively small asymmetrical map, 3 distinct areas. Midsection with the catwalk is for the ballsy players who want to make an early play. The route to the A-bomb site is for the snipers who want to show off their precise shots. And the B-bomb site is where things get explosive pretty quickly. And of course, there's routes connecting all of them together. Keeps it all from getting predictable. Not only is this a fantastic map that's been around since Counter-Strike was still a mod, but it's also been recreated by fans in countless other first-person shooters. If your map is so iconic that people are going to go out of the way to put in other games, I think that means you did something right. To me, Dust 2 is the best FPS map of all time. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. You can let me know where I got it right or wrong. Give me a couple that should have made it. I know there's going to be tons of them. There are thousands of FPS maps, and there are lots of that are good, but we can only squeeze in 20. Let me know if you guys are enjoying the FPS history series, and I'll see you soon.